everybody. Welcome back to another episode. POV with Hailey and Brie.
We're back again.
It's another Tuesday, and this time we have Kevin and Kim Harp with us. What a treat. Kevin is our number one fan, basically.
Yes.
So really the only reason we keep going.
Thanks for Kevin.
I enjoy learning more about you guys each and every episode.
It's so funny because you'll always come on Sunday and you'll ask me like a random question. What are you talking about? I'm like, oh, the podcast. So it's really fun. So that it means a lot to us. So thank you for watching.
He doesn't watch, he listens.
Oh, that's even better.
Just a
dedicated.
Unless you say something in the audio that said like a reference to something that it's gonna be, then I go back and I'll go find it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's that dedicated.
He listens and watches it.
He's like twice.
Wow. You guys are loved.
I know.
Start doing those ads. You gotta start.
We gotta start making money. Maybe by season 5 we'll be at the place where, and then you guys gotta come back so you can earn your cut because you're not getting paid today.
This is true.
So
Wait,
sorry.
what? Oh.
We're out.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, so we always kick off, as you know, with a scale of 1 to 10. How are you doing this Tuesday?
I love that they didn't introduce me.
Oh, you know. Oh, jeez. We did. We said Kevin and Kim.
And Kevin's the greatest listener.
Greatest listener.
And then Kim.
Kim
All right.
Harp.
We are gonna get into more intro. This is just the brief. You're right. You know what?
You're right.
Kim is the greatest pastor of all time. She's the high school pastor
And junior high pastor.
and junior high student ministry pastor.
Student ministry
really.
pastor. She also does.
She's
mom
our leader for high school, so that's why I associate you with high school.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
It's true.
the GOAT. Wait.
I'm
I'm trying to think of what greatest pastor. Japote. Japote. She's the Japote.
Oh, jeez.
Can't get any better than the Japote.
You really can't.
Top tier. Japote.
Yep. Anyways.
All right.
Kim,
Maybe I should not have corrected you on that.
No.
Japote.
Please correct us. You got to call us out. That's your job.
Japote.
Let's start with Kimberly then.
Wow, the full name.
Yeah, that's what happens.
It is what happens.
Not on the World Wide Web. Kimberly doesn't like that.
Not on the world, not on the internet.
No.
Yeah, okay.
All right, Kimberly.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you're doing the best you've ever done in your entire life, 1 being lowest. How are you today?
I'm going to go with a 6.
Okay.
Been having headaches lately, so I've been trying to figure out what that's all about.
Yeah.
Have you tried the headache cap?
No, but I'm going to check it out. There's a
Yeah, it's
There's
like
a
an ice pack.
Oh, okay.
That's
but
like the
it's
cancer cap.
Yeah, I guess, but it's a little bit more lighthearted.
Sorry. Sorry.
It's like a hat, and you just put it on, but it's literally you put it in the freezer, and it's just like an ice pack. It's supposed to help.
All right.
Do you
look it up.
Do you get migraines or do you get headaches?
So I've really never had headaches before the last here or there.
Yeah.
But over the last couple weeks, I'm having them regularly.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out what that's all about.
Yeah. That's not good.
No bueno.
So, all fairness, have a headache right now, but we're good. We're
Okay.
here. We're here.
I'm very thankful you're here. So thanks for being here. Through the pain.
It's all good.
Through the pain.
Kevin.
I will put myself at an 8.
Okay.
Things are going well with school. Finished all my letters of recommendation for seniors.
Nice.
That's always a good feeling of accomplishment to have that taken care of. Just finished a successful event at my school. I'm the ASB director, so kind of, I'm in charge of activities, and so whenever those go well, I'm always happy.
What was the event?
It was very similar to what the schools around here do with like action night, but we call it Clash of the Classes. So it's like everyone in the gym during the day, and we just do silly games with them. Very much youth group games, essentially. We did like Hungry Hippos and
love that.
Human surfing on boogie boards and just a lot of fun stuff. And the kids were all hyped. They did like a Hunger Games theme, so they were all like district, all that stuff. Like that.
Does it get intense?
Yes, it does. Yeah. Because there was a class in which
the Hunger Games.
we were
It got very.
we were trying in the Hungry Hippos game.
In my high school, it got really intense. It was like
so much.
Yeah, it was like you got to run home. Like it was that bad.
There was some like frustration for one of the classes because they thought they were getting kind of like miscounted on like the number of balls they brought back for Hungry Hippos, and so like we literally in the moment had to like change like I was giving somebody else the responsibility of like judging, and they judged wrong. They're like, I've made a mistake, and so like we wanted to make sure because we did not want to have like a riot on our hands.
No, you did not make a mistake.
Yeah.
Don't say that out loud ever again.
Never again.
They can hear you.
So yeah, but it was good. It was fun.
Good.
So,
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Breezer.
Oh, me. I think an 8-2. Hailey and I got some canes and filmed another episode earlier, so we're
on a roll.
We're on a roll today.
Love it.
So,
we're on a roll.
And it's a Saturday, so.
Oh,
just kidding. It's a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday.
That's
as a fan, I am like,
I
am shocked.
No. Tuesday every day.
I messed it up.
Tuesday all the time.
Dang it! Sorry, I
thought
broke
they
the
were
fourth.
live. What are you? No.
Well, Brie,
I messed it. I know. Hailey, tell us how you are.
I think I'm a 7.5. I'm trying to think. We filmed. It's Tuesday, so the beginning of the week. I'm trying to think. I just finished a class.
Oh.
Sunday.
Oh.
So started a new one.
You finished and started a new one?
Yeah, so I finished a class on
That's crazy.
Yeah, so like the end of the week is Sunday. Or, I don't know, controversial, or the beginning of the week. And then Monday, you start a new class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Back to back.
Back to back.
No breaks. So
wow.
We're hustling.
Pushing through.
We're
Love
just trying to get there. So
yeah. Love that. Okay.
Thanks.
Question of the week. It's a juicy one. I actually need to, this is a complicated question, so I need to read it on my phone.
It's quite complicated.
It is quite complicated.
So Kevin and Kim, you guys are going to answer for each other, and then Hailey and I are going to answer for each other. And it's a juicy question, okay?
Juicy.
So the question is, you're answering for the other person. If they sold the rights to their entire life to Netflix so that they could pick one specific period, phase, or experience to turn into a comedy, what situation or event would you choose? So, Kim, why don't you kick us off for Kevin?
Kicking us off. Okay, for Kevin, there's really two times in his life where I think we could choose. So, I met Kevin when he was in middle school. Mm-hmm. I think I met you a little bit after this stage, but from what I've heard, the stories he's told me, I would go with middle school stage for Kevin.
Oh.
He had really thick glasses.
I did.
He played Magic the Gathering, which is a card game for
nerds.
Nerds.
Just call it out. Just
like
call it out.
Dungeons and Dragons type of thing?
Kind of, a little bit. It's like a kind of a mix of that, and you know, I was desperate to find friends.
He wore like his, outfit choices, which it's middle school.
Oh.
Like you never know,
See. Can you send us some pictures so we can? That picture.
That picture that I showed.
Was that middle school?
That was middle school.
You didn't look that nerdy, like
grade.
in that picture.
Thank you. That was nice, but there was actually thicker glasses. I mean, I get roasted by my own son.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
He
yeah.
does. It's the thing.
That's ruthless.
To be fair,
But
kids these days are cool. Like,
but he's in middle
way
school,
too cool.
so
Way too cool.
I know it's like a...
No, right? I look at middle school students now and wish I dressed like that when I was in
I
middle
feel
school,
like
but
they're
I did not.
trying to grow up way too fast.
Yes.
I think they need the awkward phase because then when you don't grow.
They're they're just
do you-
awkward in the inside.
Yeah.
It's true.
No.
True.
But I would go with your middle school stage. I think it's
That's
funny. I think it would sell.
They would, yeah.
I'd watch it.
That's good. That's good. I love that. Kevin, what about Kim?
I'm going to have to go with, the comedy kind of involves me because it has to do with how we came together. So I tried pursuing Kim as early as middle school.
Oh, wow.
And then that didn't work out. And then I tried again in high school.
No.
And that also didn't work out.
Kevin
That
said, run it
also-
back. Run it back.
Also did not work out.
But the specific part would be there is a moment where when she was a senior in high school and I was a freshman in college, where she made it seem like she was willing to actually start dating. And so on her 18th birthday, she was having a sleepover with friends. She invited me over.
Oh,
right.
whoa.
So I stopped by.
Kimberly.
She she pulls me aside from her friends and she's like, I think we should start dating. I think we've been friends for a long time and all that stuff, anything like that.
During the sleepover?
Kevin's like,
Yeah.
no.
So I kind of was like, okay, but I was kind of taken aback. I was not expecting that at all. Excited, but also like not sure what to say. And so I kind of said, well, let's kind of give it some time to think about it a little bit. I think it was like 2 days later, or the next day, 2 days later.
No, it was probably a Sunday night because we would go out after church.
We had like church, we had like a young adult high school mixed group on Sunday nights, and it was something where we went out to eat. And while we were out with a bunch of other people, at some point we're sitting at the table. She leans back, gets my attention.
There's
we're
like 3 people in between us.
She leans back and she's like, "Hey, you know that thing I was talking about the other night? Just kidding."
Oh my God, Kim!
And
You guys.
Oh my gosh!
So I had because I had tried before. I was kind of prepared for it. Like I wasn't that. I
checked it twice before this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you went to him and said, "Actually, I'd like to give it a chance." He was like, "Man, I got it in the bag. Just waiting and praying. I've been waiting. I got it." And all of a sudden, Kim's like,
and I
just forget about it.
Literally did like the thing like
a kid, like that. And then we drove back because we had all kind of carpooled to the eat. So we go back to church where my car was, and she had gone back there. So the icing on the cake was there was a note on my car from her that night that said, "Hey, thanks for being a great friend and putting up with my indecisiveness."
Not a friend.
Which, if you know Kim, indecisiveness is not her at all.
I'm
so
actually not indecisive. So
this was a rare moment.
A rare
indecisiveness. A rare kind of like, I'd say, fear a little bit of trying to like.
Ooh, kind of going deep.
I don't know. I just was like,
yikes.
But
it's legit though.
I I didn't allow myself to get too hopeful in the moment. And then the following year when she...
No.
Oh,
that was September. And we started December.
So December.
Yeah,
that's
only
right.
like
that's
a couple
right.
months later.
A couple months later. So...
Good.
Yeah,
to Kevin, it was a year.
But of course at that... No, but...
It's a very long period.
But of course in December when she brings this up again, I'm, I got a little PTSD. I'm like, I don't know about this, so we had actually gone to hang out. We were miniature golfing, and she tells me like at hole 1 that she wants a date, and I waited till hole 18 to say like, okay.
Dead silence.
It was a very quiet game of mini golf.
Wait, so what did you tell him? You said, "I want a date," or how did you?
Yeah, I mean, well, we had been friends throughout this whole period of time, which he was gracious to me because it would have been easier for him to not be friends with me. But we were all part of a youth group, so it was kind of like we had periods of time where we were closer than other periods of time. And once I got out of high school, we went to different high schools, so that was partially the struggle in junior high and high school. I was like, I wanted to date someone who went to my school, who would change my status. Like as a high school student, that's what you care about.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he would not have done that, for me.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really bad, but I'm just saying it how it is,
Kevin,
right?
you should have transferred schools.
So once I got out of high school, September, that period of time, I was only out, 3 or 4 months.
That's true.
And
timing-wise.
So the timing, I still was trying to figure out what life looked like after high school. And if anybody remembers that transition, it's rough. It's weird. It's a very hard couple months.
Yeah.
And so once December hit, all of a sudden it was kind of like things had changed. My perspective on life had shifted, and what was important mattered. And I was like, wait, this is a guy who loves Jesus, is responsible. We get along. He makes me laugh. Why would I not say yes to him? And so when we hung out that night, I was like, I don't remember exactly what I said other than, hey, let's try to make this work.
Yeah, something like that. I think we should give this a shot.
Yeah.
I think was maybe the phrase, something like that.
And his hesitancy was not surprising in any way, shape, or form. And he was very gracious to say yes.
When you would tell people about he made me wait 18 holes, I'm like, you made me wait several years. So I feel like in the long span of things,
literally 6
all
times.
The
first time he asked me out was at a camp, and he asked me to meet him at the Arc, which was this ice skating rink at Hume Lake, if you know. And I literally went to my cabin and hid for the rest of the night.
He was just waiting
at
the
the Arc.
Arc.
And he was just standing there waiting.
I didn't wait too long. I mean, I kind of,
He got the hit. That's so sad, though.
So he had gone through a lot, guys.
Poor Kevin.
He was gracious to only give me 18 holes.
But that would be the comedy. I think Netflix would really...
Oh my gosh, it would be funny.
I would watch that. Yeah. That's good.
That's juicy.
That was the perfect question because we just got your whole, whole start of your love story. So that's amazing.
Yikes.
Haley, would you like to go?
I can.
Go for it.
Something in your life that I think Netflix would pick up and run with. I think the period of when we started to get close. I think that is a good one.
When we were both into the same guy?
Yeah,
that kind of
that
part?
was juicy. That was juicy.
That part?
That part?
Yeah.
So we can clarify what's
Yeah,
the comedy?
Haley literally is just like,
Let's just tiptoe around it. No, yeah. That's hilarious.
No, yeah, it was funny. I think that part. I don't know. I feel like it's ups and downs.
It'd be like a romantic comedy, I think. But then a romantic comedy tragedy. So,
Oh.
yeah.
well, you know.
I think it's funny.
I think it's hilarious. So,
Yeah. That's what I think they'd pick up.
that's a good one.
I'd watch it.
I would watch it too.
What about you, Brie?
Yeah. I the part of time. Well, I think just the whole wedding situation that happened. Was it a year ago?
Yeah.
And like the bachelorette, like being a bridesmaid.
Being a bridesmaid is not for the weak.
It's
I'll
not.
tell you that.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart.
I can't
Yeah.
relate, but
Right, Kevin? Right, Kevin?
How is it being a
Bridesmaid,
groomsman? Is there ever
never been a
drama?
groomsman.
Never been a groomsman.
Never been a groomsman?
Okay.
Don't bring that. That's like a
I'm
sore
sorry.
subject. And
No,
now
no,
he's
it's
like,
okay.
you know.
Do you know how much money you've saved?
I know that's
Yeah.
true.
Can I just add?
Kevin, that's
How much
actually
time,
amazing.
energy,
Yeah.
like
You just come to the wedding without any
financial
kind of-
you just saved that you can
All
put
the
towards
Yeah.
anything else you want to do with your life.
It's true. Wow. So that got us through a lot of our outline right there. So that's amazing.
Half of it's already.
No, I'm just kidding. No,
Thanks for coming on.
There you go.
Peace out. We're done.
so we are going to be talking about kind of what's going on in calling, like where you're called. We've kind of already talked a little bit about how we know Kim and Kevin, but just to like give us some more details, can you guys give us like a fun fact about yourself before we kick off this week's topic?
I didn't come up with a fun fact.
Oh no,
And I'm not very good at this. So
Kevin,
I have
it's
lots of
all
fun
it's
facts.
all
Will
you.
you give a fun fact for me?
Oh yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I don't
Oh,
know.
pressure's on,
Just
Kevin.
say that's a lot of pressure.
I know.
I don't know how to do a fun fact.
Oh no,
You have to speak up.
we didn't prep them well.
I know, I'm whispering because I'm trying to think in the moment. Like, does that have to relate to the calling or no, just a fun
No,
fact? about
anything.
my
It can relate to the calling if
Oh.
that's easier for you to narrow
I'll start
it down.
with myself.
Sure.
I was on a game show, Sports Jeopardy.
Whoa.
It
Not know
was hosted
this.
by Dan Patrick. I have no idea if your audience would have any idea who that is. But he was like a really
Answer
big,
snow.
anyways. He was like a really famous ESPN
Look it
anchor
up.
for a number of years. Anyway, like
Google
that.
that.
So there was like an online version. It was like Jeopardy, but it was like all sports. I went and auditioned and
Whoa.
got to compete.
Is this
And
recorded?
Yeah, can we
I
watch
don't know.
it?
I think you can find it
you
out
probably
there
can.
somewhere.
We'll find it.
It was never like on network television. So like it was because like the whole show was like on this like online
Interesting.
channel kind of like that.
So did you audition
That's not even around
virtually?
anymore, like that. No, it was in person. So this was in 2015 or 2016.
Oh
Wow.
And so
He
like,
almost won us some big money, guys.
I was on a roll, and then I
The
literally was
keyword
getting
there
like
is
5 or
almost.
6 questions.
How much
And
money
then,
had you stacked up?
Like I was like I don't know how much it was, but I know I was like comfortably in the lead, and then like there was a big money question that I got wrong by like just a single word.
Oh
like
my
it was
gosh.
it was about a college, and the answer was New Mexico, and I said New Mexico State.
Stop.
So it like subtracted the amount. Another guy got it, and then it was just like it all went downhill
guys.
from there.
Interesting.
I got it in my head, and so like
That
I ended
guy
up
just
finishing in third
trades.
place, and
Did
I
you
mean
win
you still
any
get
money?
something. You get $1,000
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
Okay.
So it paid for a little.
It's like a little getaway.
A little trip for
Yeah.
the two of us.
I mean,
and
$1,000.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you guys didn't have
so
before.
that was fun.
That's pretty
cool.
nice.
Okay.
Were you
Kim,
on a
Fun fact for me, babe?
Were you on a game show, Kim?
I have not ever been on a game show.
You would know that.
I've watched.
She's
Why
like,
I was
"Have I?"
going
She
through
really wants to
my
be-
life, and I
You've
feel
been on
like
a podcast.
I feel thanks,
Now.
guys. Wow.
I mean, it's not a game show, but
I don't know. I feel like I don't have. By the way, as a student pastor, I should have a lot of fun facts in my back pocket, and I don't really.
I feel
I feel
like
like my life is just.
Your mission trip.
oh yeah,
So-
You went
That's
to-
not really a fun fact.
that
Well,
is
being out
for,
of the country,
people who
that's
don't
not
know.
really
you.
Okay. Something that led to my calling was the summer between my high school year, graduating high school to college. I worked at a camp, a summer camp for students that was on houseboats, was on the lake.
Oh, yeah.
And literally lived on a houseboat for over a month.
Wow.
Super fun. Took showers in the lake. That's a fun fact.
That's crazy.
In the lake.
Super fun.
Like in the lake or like lake water?
Lake water. Like, no, like, yeah, in the lake. You would shower, bath, bathe.
Like a massive pontoon.
What's a pontoon?
Oh,
but part of that is, you have another fun fact.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, like, because we're talking about our love story, like, each of us separately, before we got together,
that's a fun fact.
We dated somebody, she dated before me a guy named Kevin, and I dated a girl named Kim.
Wow.
Weird.
Just, yeah, we got it wrong. We got missing. And
yeah.
It's like, wrong Kim,
wrong
Kevin.
It was just,
God was like,
dang it, not that.
We went on dates with, like, people. I wouldn't say I dated him, but okay.
No, that's fair.
Keep going.
Okay.
Was this the truck guy?
There's the truck guy?
Stop, you're bringing
bleacher?
She's talking about Jason.
No. Okay, got it. Sorry.
You've told enough stories at high school group. That's where she's going.
I know. I was like, what?
I know. I'm confusing.
Her Connect group
Viewers have no idea
loves
what
to
we're
hear
saying
stories.
right now. Here we go.
You know what I'm talking about?
Those are the fun facts.
Just kidding. But I love those fun facts.
Those are good.
Those are good fun facts. Okay, now long intro. Good intro. Got lots of good information.
This is going to be the longest episode.
This is what they want.
This is what happens when you have two people.
No,
right?
that's a lot. No, so the episode with Bill was probably, I think, an hour and 25 minutes. I had to cut so much out. So
okay, good.
It's going to be okay. But let's get into the topic. So today's topic is kind of surrounding how there's a lot of, or it sometimes feels like there's pressure from society to like just do and go and be successful. And that's kind of how you're measured, is like how much you're doing, where are you traveling, like that kind of stuff. And kind of talking about, okay, well, God does call us to do and to go, but how does that measure up to our calling and what God has called us to do? So we kind of we thought you guys would be a really cool couple to talk about calling, because Kim as a pastor and Kevin as a teacher, you guys are very influential in like people's lives. So we kind of want to hear about, about your guys' callings, and we'll talk about, what we think, just callings in general. So I think kicking us off with, maybe we'll start with Kevin. We'll just go this way. Like, what is your calling in life, or do you know what that is? And how did you get into that? How did you realize what that calling was? Kind of kick us off with that.
Yeah, sure. So I've always believed that like everybody has the same calling in regards to worship and glorifying God. Like this idea that no matter what your profession is, no matter what your career is, that is a calling that everyone can do. And I know that's difficult in moments and seasons of like unemployment, or you're at a job that you don't like, or things like that, where you kind of question those things. But I go back to that because that helps me remind myself that it doesn't matter what I'm doing or what kind of day I'm having, that God has called me to serve him in that capacity and to like serve others around. The specific element of being a teacher was just kind of a combination of God revealing my gifting or my talents that he had, given me. It really helped to have people like Kim calling, encouraging me in regards to, I see this in you and stuff. Being a teacher was not on my radar growing up. It was, my sister was going into teaching, but it wasn't something that I thought, oh yeah, I definitely want to do that. And I'm a history teacher, so that is,
pretty cool.
Not many people think that. So
it's a thing.
It's like, get a lot of like, like it's like I'm they're sad and like that, But
oh no, no, Kevin.
Oh my goodness.
But it was kind of like this alignment with glorifying God and serving him in regards to the next generation, and wanting to be a light on the campus of wherever I taught, whatever school that would be in the future. Lately, with taking on the activities director and being an ASB director, it's been even more of an ability to kind of influence like the culture of the school in a way that's beyond just teaching in my classroom. And so that's been even more rewarding, but I still go back to this idea of, my purpose is to do, to be obedient, to follow where God is leading, and where God opened doors, stepping through them. And that's a challenge because, you know, like you said, like society says, be successful, find a high paying job. You know, teaching is not obviously known for that. You know, it's, I went to a high school that was very competitive in terms of like academic performance. And so my fellow classmates were going off to be engineers and doctors and lawyers. And I was, you know, having to wrestle with that, like, is this enough? And it's like, no, God always saying like, no, you are enough. Like, you are exactly where you need to be doing what I want you to be doing. Because I put you here.
Yeah. Okay. I have a lot of follow-up questions because that's a really cool story. But let's come back to it and we'll kind of ask all the follow-up questions at once. So, Kim, I'd love to hear about your calling and what God has placed on you.
Yeah. I completely agree with Kevin. I think as the church, I think we sometimes do a disservice when we say like, oh, like I have a calling as pastor. And yes, I do. But my calling as pastor is no greater than his calling as teacher, your calling as student, or wherever you are. And I think when you look at God's word, there's the call for us is to join in the redemptive work of Christ. Like that is bottom line, our calling. And when we join in to that work, whatever that looks like. And I think that there's seasons in our life where we, how we join in the redemptive work of Christ is like in line with our passions, and it's like kind of that sweet spot. And I know looking back on my life, there are periods of time where I still needed to join in the redemptive work of Christ. That calling never went away, but how I was doing it was maybe not how I needed to or what God wanted me to do. But at the same time, my calling was still my calling, and it was still good. And so there's seasons, I think, in our lives where I think as a church, we sometimes lean into like, you're calling and you know it, and that's great. But what the disservice of that, or like the shadow side, I think, of that, I don't know how to say it, is the sense that we actually end up hurting people because what they do is they don't go and do. They just sit and wait.
Yeah.
And sitting and waiting is not what God's word tells us to do. And so sitting and waiting around to like, until I find and figure out my calling, I'm just going to sit and wait. Well, you're actually not doing what God's word has told us to do. It's just join in the redemptive work of Christ wherever you are, whatever season you're in, whatever's before you. So for me, I have a moment where I feel like God called me into like ministry. But really that call was actually in a space like, so I'll share real quick. I was in Quito, Ecuador on a missions trip. Coming off of that summer camp that I worked at, they offered a missions trip that following spring. And we had just started dating. We were in Quito, Ecuador. I was so outside of my comfort zone. We were actually washing the hair of people who lived in the dump at Quito. I've shared this probably at high school group many times. And I'm washing this lady's hair, and I just felt like I heard God say, like, will you do anything that I call you to do? Like, will you do anything? And in that moment, for me, that was the calling of like, yes. Because for me, that first year of college, I was going to college to be an elementary school teacher. That was what I was going to do with my life. And it was that moment where I was like, wait, like maybe he's calling me to something different, and maybe he has something different for me to do. But it doesn't really change the fact that like I'm joining in on the redemptive work of Christ. And that's really what our calling is.
Yeah.
And when you look at God's word, there's many times where God calls people to certain missions and certain places and all of those things. But overall, like in all of those spaces, it's about joining in with what God already is doing.
Yeah. So I love that. That's really cool. We're going to come back to that. But just so we have like a base, Hailey and I are kind of briefly going to mention what God has placed on our heart. And this is so funny because earlier we recorded the episode we did with Lauren was about career and entering into that, and like that pressure of like your career has to be your calling, or that's kind of the misconception. And so I had kind of talked about how I think God's made it very clear that like career is not calling, but people are, and like the people that God places in my life, that's who I'm called to, and like how I'm called to be myself and to minister and to form relationships with. And again, like no matter what I'm doing, but like in every aspect. So that's kind of what I kind of think of as my calling when I think of calling. Do you want to mention?
Mine's kind of similar. Like,
Yeah.
I think that I'm very good with just like having relationships with people and just being intentional and caring. I feel like God's just given me a really good gift of doing those things and just like pouring into like people, students. Kind of like touched briefly on it in the last episode. A few episodes ago. But just like whether it be like pouring into people this way through a podcast or like pouring into students. Obviously, like public school's a little bit different, but there is a girl who goes to Grace who actually like is in my daycare, and so we'll like briefly talk a little bit, and she will be like, hey, I saw you on the announcements on Sunday. I told my mom, and I was like, that's funny. So just like stuff like that. Like obviously public school's a little bit different because you can't, it's like a gray area with like Christianity kind of a little bit, but still it's cool like to like if kids come and talk to me about it, then like obviously I can do that. But just like being able to just randomly like, I don't know, have conversations about Christ and Christianity like whenever it comes up. I'm not a big like, oh, let's not talk about it here. Like if someone's gonna bring something up, like I had a conversation with somebody the other day at dinner that was like, oh, tell me about your podcast, and like briefly they were like, oh yeah, I heard like it's like Christ centered, and I was like, yeah, and like touched based on it, and I was like, I think like how Kevin had said, like it just I don't know, it kind of just is, you just have the opportunity to just like spread God's love everywhere. So to anybody at any time. So
School and work too, I feel like they're the same, where it's not you're not necessarily talking about Jesus all the time, but it's the relationships you form. So kind of jumping around and going back to Kevin, something we want to touch on is if you were to think back to your 20s and like starting your career, like leaving after college maybe, what got you into teaching? How did you, or I guess when did you discover like calling versus career versus, and like how was that? Because you kind of mentioned like there was that pressure of like, oh, I'm just a teacher, but it's like much more than that, you know?
I coming out of high school, I didn't have a plan. I mean, like I legitimately, my idea was I'm gonna be famous. I like making people laugh. Yeah. Like at that time, my dream was... Did
you want to be a comedian?
My dream was to be on Saturday Night Live. Like that was like, you know, like...
That'd be amazing.
There's still a chance.
You can do it, Kevin.
I was...
Go back.
You know, my yearbook, my senior year, like I'm voted most likely to be famous.
Wow.
But like I didn't know how that was gonna like articulate like
podcast.
that. Yes, maybe the podcast.
This is it.
This is it.
Here's his famous
moment with the Hailey Brie.
I tried with the Sports Jeopardy. It didn't work out. No. But I go to college and I went from a school where I was very known and like people like, you know, found me funny and like that. And it was a big school and I didn't live on campus because it was close. I commuted. And it was like a kind of like I kind of say God like kind of like woke me up a little bit to say like kind of humbled me in the sense of like, you know, I don't have plans for you to go out and be a comedian or a fame. And it was like a little bit of like a rude awakening for me because I wasn't, you know, prepared for that. So I kind of felt myself the first semester of college very lost, like I think a lot of times people do in their, you know, in their that age, in that phase, trying to figure things out. Was enjoying my history classes and was like, why do I enjoy my history classes? This isn't strange. What do I do with this? And so
not everyone enjoys history classes.
I do, so maybe that's why I'm so fascinated with you, because history was always my favorite class. So I think you're super cool, for the record.
And so I kind of was having a conversation with a professor and was kind of he kind of threw out the idea of going into like teaching and getting a credential. And it was something that I hadn't thought about beforehand, but I realized, you know what, I had these really bad experiences of history teachers in middle school and high school. And I thought I could go and change that. And I could go and be a teacher that, you know, has fun with students and makes it interesting and, you know, shows them like the connection to their present lives. But I also knew that my faith was maturing at the same time, and God was saying, I have more for you than that. You know, yes, you can make history fun. Yes, you can make them enjoy it, but I want you. So it just so happened that simultaneously I began to volunteer in our church's junior high ministry. The junior high leader, like pastor, like invited me to be a leader, and I took him up on that and found myself really enjoying pouring into students and like sharing my, you know, at that point it was very young wisdom because I was still relatively young, but And seeing God kind of bring these two worlds kind of together at the same time made me realize this is what God has for me. Like, this is where he wants me to go. And I did some substitute teaching. I did substitute teaching at private Christian schools. I did it at public schools. And I found God telling me, like, public school. You know, the private school, yes, I know it'd be really easier for you in regards to talking about your faith and opening up God's word. But I want you to be a light on public school campuses because they are dark places. Yeah. And it was true then when I started. It is true now. Yeah. Absolutely. And so it's kind of that confirmation, I would say, like that kind of certainty of, as I was taking these classes, getting my credential, I was very fortunate that straight after I was able to get a teaching job almost right away. Yeah. And that was also just confirmation that God was allowing these doors to open up at the right time for me. And you know, as typical first couple year teachers, you know, it's like I didn't know what I was doing like in the classroom all the time. You know, it was like I was just, you know, having fun with them, playing games and, you know, giving them tests and things like that. But it was something where, you know, I had students sometimes write into the year like thank you notes that they would talk about, you know, I can tell that, you know, your faith matters to you. I can see that in your teaching. It was like, I'm like, wow, like that. That's really cool. You know, like to have a high school and middle school student like see that, it was like, you know, and I still, when I see those are like, those kind of notes are the most like rewarding aspect because like that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
Well, and I think even what Hailey, you were saying earlier about, you know, it's hard. I believe that when we have the power of the Holy Spirit in us, whatever area that we enter, like when we put our feet on ground, like that's why as a student pastor, I like to get on like high school campuses because when we put our feet on that ground, we are bringing the light of Christ, whether we talk about it with our voice, whether we, you know, with a smile, with it, just our presence alone, the presence of the Holy Spirit's in us. So we're changing the atmosphere, we're changing that. And that's what Kev gets to do on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome. So we'll get to Kim, but as a couple, how do you guys support one each other, and what are some maybe obstacles of that, of feeling doubts about that calling?
Oh, you want me to go? Okay.
I don't want to.
I just talked a lot. So.
Okay.
You did just talk.
Well, it's actually funny because last night we actually had like a moment where sometimes our professions, not our callings necessarily, but our professions can not, I wouldn't say be in tension, but like we're trying to find a date. He has a lot of activities for school. I have a lot of activities.
You guys are busy people.
For church, we're super, I like to not say busy. I like to say that.
Sorry, just the local motorcycle gang.
It's fine.
They're coming through.
I like to say our life is very full. Full of the things that God is calling us to do instead of busy, because like busy makes it sound like we're just doing things to do things, and I don't believe we are. I feel like what we say yes to is really important. Yeah. And so we have a very full life, but last night it was like I'm trying to, you know, calendar out for spring for student ministry, and his dates are conflicting with my dates, and that's just the thing. And so those are the spaces where it's hard. Those are the spaces where it's like who not like who wins, but like that sense of like, you know, whose date's gonna get, you know, their date. But I believe what we both do really well for one another in our professions and what God has for us right now is just the constant reminder to one another that we can do what God's called us to do, that we are who God says we are. And so it's just like constantly reminding each other of our identity when we're getting caught up with other people's opinions, or we're, you know, discouraged by, you know, a comment here or there, what people have said, or our full schedule, right? Whatever it is, I think we just do a really good job of saying like, hey, remember, on big days where he has like an event, like he just had this cool assembly for school all about hope, and I was so grateful that he was leading that. And so like just a text in the morning that says like, hey, like, so, you know, proud of you for like putting that on the calendar and doing that. And, you know, praying for that assembly to be what, you know, God wants it to be. So I think that's where we support each other the best.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's been many times in which you've helped me maintain the perspective of reminding me of what God has called me to do, and where where I'm at, and specifically, like, I can think of like the year of quarantine where I had to teach from home because of COVID. Like, I hated that.
was rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a low point of like really doubting whether teaching was really it, you know. But she was almost maybe weekly, probably reminding me of the ability to still connect with students, even if it was through a computer screen. And so I'm always grateful for that kind of support and encouragement. I steal ideas that she does for youth group. I will often run things by her and say, like, hey, what do you think? I'm thinking about doing this with my student leaders. What do you think? And just having that perspective has always been, like, I'm grateful for the fact that our professions line up in terms of working with youth and kind of having that.
It's a cool support for both of you. It's really cool. Kim, you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but I think one of the things you said was that God was calling you to say yes to anything. So in your 20s, maybe, like, what were some doubts were there any doubts, like when Jesus was asking you to say yes to ministry or say yes to, like, were there doubts or struggles with saying yes?
Yeah, no, I was like full, no doubts at all. No,
no way! How do I do that? Please tell me.
It's like, it was so easy. No, I mean, gosh, I came back from that Ecuador trip so certain of that experience that I had with the Lord. I was so like on fire for, like, on fire is such a Christianese word, but like, I was so ready to go, but I actually was like ready to go do what, like, it was like kind of like, I'm ready to go, and okay, Lord. For me, I had been also serving in junior high ministry, loved it, knew that I looked forward to it. It was like my favorite night of the week, and loved my relationships that I was building with students. And so knew that was like a passion, right? Because I think that calling, God has put passions and gifts and talents and all of those things in us.
Yeah.
And when we are able to know who God says we are, right? Like, believe who God says we are, and then we align that with, like, what we're good at just naturally.
Yeah.
That's where you're like, that's the sweet spot of, like, leaning into what God has for you.
Totally.
And so I kind of was like, okay, this is the case, like, can feel that, know that. But for me, like, my sister had done youth ministry before. I didn't know of any youth pastors that were women. So that was really, like, a big doubt in my mind. Even my own family's perspective of women in ministry was not in line. So to just jump into, like, hey, I'm going to go into ministry, that there was huge doubt. I mean, conversations with my family, just made me doubt, like, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should do something else in line. Me becoming an elementary school teacher was something I had said I was going to do for, like, ever.
Yeah.
So that was also like, wait, where did that go? Like, right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of doubts and things.
Someone is at the front door.
Someone's at Bill's house.
Oh, someone's at the front door.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
Bill, there's someone at your door.
Hi, Bill.
yeah, there you go. Let them know they're there.
They're there. We're talking, Bill. Jeez.
So, okay. But yeah, so there was a lot of doubts and insecurity, right? So you have to work up against, like, I feel like I'm good at this, but then, someone says something or does something, right? And so it was really tough for me to switch my major and believe that this was exactly what I was called to do.
Yeah.
But what happened was me going to people like Kevin, sitting down. I remember sitting my parents down. I remember sitting, like, just going to these people that I trusted in my life and said, here, this is what I'm thinking about. And what's your response to that, right? And asking the Holy Spirit to, like, confirm what I had felt like he was asking me to do.
How much, so this is a question that I just have in general, like, how much weight do you give, because there are people who are going to say, yeah, go and do this, and there's other people that are going to say, is that really, like, what God is calling you? But if that's what you're feeling, so, like, God's voice, like the voices of others, how did you balance, like, the no's, the yeses, and, like, God's call?
Yeah. Whew. That's an ongoing tension.
Sure.
I believe that we all deal with, right? So
100%.
God says this, but then the opinions of others are, like, shouting at us. And so just discerning that and knowing which is better. I think in that time I was so certain that moment with the Lord in Ecuador was so strong for me that it was like, well, this is what I'm going to do. Like my conversations with those people that I sat down were literally like, Kevin, I'm going to go into youth ministry. It wasn't do you think I should go into youth ministry? Okay. Yeah. It was, I'm going to go into youth ministry, and then now I'm going to just let you respond.
Yeah.
And your response is going to let me know if, because I think our calling is really deeply rooted in whether we know who God says we are. So as I've been thinking about like my 20s versus versus my like 40s now, like I want to say 40s because I'm 41. Let's just say early 40s. The difference between how I lived that out in my 20s versus now is just that I just know I'm more certain on who God says I am.
Yeah.
Just based on life and working hard at what my identity is. So in my 20s, I think I was grasping at a lot of things.
Yeah.
Versus, no, this is who God says I am. Because I believe that when we are really walking in our calling, we're so certain of who God says we are, and we're living that out.
Yeah.
And so other people's opinions, they are there, and they are real, and we have to deal with them, and we can't just ignore them because that's just not a thing. But at the same time, it's like, what does God say about me? And if that doesn't line up with what God says about me, then I've got to let the opinion go.
Yeah. I really like how you put that, because I think people in their 20s, like including me, like struggle with that. Like, okay, people are saying this. I know, I think this is what God says about me. I think this is what God's telling me to do. And how do I balance all of that? So that's,
And I think it's really important for in your 20s to have people in your life that you know are going to be the ones that are going to speak truth into your life.
Yeah.
So like going back to the question, like how do we support each other? Like I know that it is one of my primary responsibilities as her husband to be that reminder of like, this is who God says you are. So if she has a moment where she is questioning her abilities or
on the weekly
wondering how, something is going, in terms of ministry or the church, I will either, if we're talking on the phone, I will say it over there. I will text it to her. I will say it to her face and say, this is where you are gifted. This is where you are talented. That can be a spouse. That can be a significant other. That can be a friend, but just, that can be parents, but just the people in your life. It's like, in your 20s, I think it's important to start being really, I don't want to say like super selective, but like really making sure like, I don't have time for you, this is like there's too much either negativity or opinionated that I need people in my life that are going to build me up. I think that's really valuable to have.
That's true.
Good. That's a good word. So we're running low on time, so we're going to have to cut off the topic of calling. But this has been a really cool conversation, something that is needed, I feel like, for our generation, but I think even for people in general, just to think about that. Hailey, why don't you kick us off with POVs?
You want me to kick it off with POVs?
Okay, let's let our guests go first, shall we?
Yeah. Are you sure? Are you sure you want us to go?
I am so ready for this POV.
I'm so nervous.
I'm a little nervous.
She's gonna roast us on our own.
These are POVs that are not designed to target them, but it's gonna maybe feel like it is, but it's really not meant to.
Oh, is it just like a millennial thing?
Is this a Gen Z? Are you targeting Gen Z?
No,
I think I am a little bit.
We'll just get
you
to
are.
My POV.
We should get
We
into
don't want to
it.
spill.
I'm not. I'm actually targeting. So sorry, just touch my.
You're fine. Go for it.
A couple seasons ago, you had my good friend Monica on.
Yes.
She targeted me.
Oh,
in her POV.
Oh
She didn't call me out, but she did. She called me out, but she didn't
she definitely
personally
did.
call me out, but she did because I am someone who literally cannot have notifications on my phone. Do you feel targeted, Hailey?
I do.
I'm with you though.
So my POV is that people who don't clear their notifications are crazy.
Yeah.
And
you're targeting Monica right now. So.
And really there's you got junk in your life, you got to get it out.
Whoa.
Took it a step further.
Yeah, you did.
That's deep. That's deep.
So just saying.
I'll pray about it. We'll figure it out.
Don't sit around and wait. We just talked about this. Don't sit around and wait. Just go do.
Just do it. Do it.
Go get on it. Right after this.
Yeah, that's my POV.
You're picking feathers, so.
And so.
All right. I stand with you, Kim.
Thank you.
For the record, I'm with you. I go through my mail every morning so I can delete all the junk.
I don't know how you could go to sleep with a number that large on your phone.
My cousin.
What's your current number, Hailey?
For what?
For
your
email
mail or your text messages.
My text messages are always really bad.
Are you serious? I don't understand.
Right now I have 86
my
text
goodness.
messages.
That would stress me out.
You haven't gotten back to 86 people?
I'm a popular gal. I mean,
See, that would be my question. Is
First
like,
off,
are those people waiting around? Are they sending you more like, are you there?
Like
are you
delete
there?
them.
No. A lot of the time it's just like group messages or like, I don't know.
If it's a group message, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
It's just
I'm
a
sorry,
lot.
Hailey. I really was just
I don't
trying to
have
target
enough
Monica.
time in my
That's
day
getting
to
back at
keep
her.
up.
Catching strays
I
here.
can't catch a break. Just kidding. Oh, sorry to those 86 people who are waiting on my text message back.
My cousin's like that too. She doesn't watch this, so I can talk about her. But she has like 300 unread text messages.
See, that's worse. That's bad.
That's worse.
That's a high number.
300's bad.
Don't try to like find the person who's worse than you.
No,
to make yourself
86
feel
is
better.
bad.
It's not bad.
I can't
It's
do
pretty
that.
bad.
I can't do that.
That's my POV.
Okay.
Oh,
I
man.
like that.
Okay.
Kevin.
All right.
Kevin's really targeting.
I know.
Hailey's the worst.
My POV.
And Brie sucks.
my POV is that taking naps should only be for people who are between the ages of 0 and 5 or over the age of 60.
Oh! I don't know how to take that.
We have had moments.
What's your reasoning?
Have you ever had?
My belief is that if you are napping in the daytime, and I know that there's extenuating circumstances, like for example,
you
know, like you have like an all-nighter as a ministry event. And you didn't sleep.
That's fair.
Makes sense, right? You work night shifts. I mean, that's not really now because that's like you redo your thing like that.
You're sick.
You're sick.
Yep.
You know, homesick makes perfect sense. Rest
even
is important.
vacation. I'll even give you like.
Naps on vacation.
This is not my POV.
No, well, it's fine. You can enjoy that.
I'll even allow. I'll allow.
The thinking is that if you are napping, it's maybe not you're not getting enough sleep at night. Like it's something where you may need to reevaluate like
your sleep habits.
So I will say this is funny because in the last few months I felt convicted of that. Like after I nap, I'm not a good person. Like the naps don't help me, you know.
Brother.
But what I struggle with is now I get up, like even if it's a weekend, I get up at like 6 a.m. And I try to go to bed at like 9 o'clock. But if it's a weekend, sometimes I don't go to bed at 9 o'clock. So that's when the naps come because I'm like waking up and I'll take a nap at like 10 a.m. to like 11.
And I'll confess that like part of that POV comes from an insecurity of like when people tell me like, oh, I took a nap today, I'm like, how do you do that? Like I can't imagine myself
that's fair.
resting because I'd feel guilty. I'd feel like I've just wasted however long it is when I could have been. I mean, like the last time I was sick at home, I should have been napping. I did schoolwork. I was like missing out on, you know, it's like so. That's part of it, but it's also an element of like, oh, you know, like she'll tell me like, oh, so and so showed up late because they just woke up from a nap. I'm like, what? You know, or we'll have people in our life that recommend it. I'm not saying by name.
They're gonna know who they are.
If they watch, they will.
Calling people. I mean, you need to own it, so you should.
You know.
You're calling Hailey out.
Okay, no, I'm not. I'm not calling Hailey out.
No,
Kevin
you're not.
is calling Hailey out.
You know what? That's your POV.
I showed up late one time, Kevin. I'm just kidding.
That's a good POV.
If you're listening to this, Hailey's face right now is.
No, it's
the
fine.
best.
It's fine.
Kevin, we love you.
It's your POV. That's allowed. You're allowed to have your own
Bring
opinion.
it back. Come on.
Yeah.
Just give us some good.
Now you get a roast Kevin. So what's your POV?
Well, Kevin.
Well, Kevin, flannel.
My POV was like.
That's fair.
Kidding.
My turn?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I feel very passionate about this one. I even got it all written down.
All right. Wow.
Maybe a little controversial.
All right,
I mean, only to a specific set of people.
Is it us?
No.
Are we the set of people?
No, it's not.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately not.
I really should have.
I personally think that you can only name a child after a month or a season if they are born in that month or that season. So if you're naming somebody April,
they better be born.
They better be born in April. Or if like August, better be born in August. I just think or like summer, they're born in like December. That's a little strange to me.
That's true.
That's just
It's confusing.
That's very confusing.
It's very confusing. I don't think that's controversial. I feel like that's.
I just meant to the people who name their kids after months or seasons. Maybe they're like, hey, show me some respect. And I'm like, sorry.
My winter baby, I wanted to name Summer.
I know. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just like, I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense.
That seems like a fair
Like,
rule.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, oh, yeah, they're going to know who I'm saying. But they were like, yeah, like, they named their kid August. And I was like, August? Like, it's October. What are you talking about? They named their kid, their birthday's in October. They're like, yeah. And I was like, that's just not right. I don't know why, but it just seems wrong. I don't know. That's how I felt.
Well, I feel like that child literally is going to like.
That's what I'm saying.
They're just going to be August. Oh, is your birthday in August? No, it's October.
Yeah.
People.
That's strange.
Yeah, that's just what I think.
It's good. I'm debating between two POVs right now.
Whoa.
Because I have a list of them right now. But we'll go with this one. So this is something I experienced at work because in the bathroom. There are multiple stalls. There's like 6 to 7 stalls at my work in a bathroom. Mm-hmm. It's rude to use the stall that's right next to somebody that they're in. If there are 7 stalls and there are 4 people in the stall, you need to calculate that out in your head of which stall you should be using so that you are not directly next to someone. Because my pet peeve is when there are 2 people in the bathroom, I'm in a stall, and the person goes in right next to me. Give it some space. I don't need to be pooping right next to you.
See, this is worse for guys because of urinals.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
There's like an unwritten rule that you go in, if there's like 4 or 5 of them, you take the far right or you take the far left.
Yeah.
Like no questions asked, and it's like if there's either side, you go like you always try to keep at least one between you. It's just
which is fair.
What if so if there are 4 urinals and there are 4 people in the bathroom, do you just go 2 at a time?
If you're really uncomfortable, because there's some guys that like they've got no uncomfortable, they're like I'm fine, boom, I'll stand next to whoever, that kind of thing.
Interesting.
For me, I'll see like, hey, is there a stall available? I'll do that, I'll wait. I don't have to go that bad, I'll pretend, that kind of thing. So, yeah, just to kind of keep that as much as possible.
Yeah, right?
Interesting.
It's just like,
but I get
chill.
it, I understand.
Yeah.
That
What if
space.
they like need the stall that's like
if
like,
all of them
like,
are full, like at Disneyland, they're all full.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
But if there's if there's an opportunity to space it out a little bit.
Is it weirder because you know the people who are coming in? Because I actually find that, like at work, it's
I
almost
hate going to the bathroom with
that
people.
I know the person
when you can
who's
be like,
going next
I know
to
whose
me.
shoes those are.
Yeah, right? I mean, for us, there's literally like...
Well, some people are so comfortable that, like, as you're peeing, they're talking to you. And I'm like...
Do you not talk while you... Because we do.
Only to my friends.
You two. You what?
Y'all do?
No, like at like church.
Yes,
Oh,
Monica does this.
That's, yeah.
And it's just so funny
sorry,
to me.
Friend, we are targeting you today.
Sorry, Monica.
No, I think that's fine.
It's
like, no time for breaks. We have to continue this.
I would prefer to pee in silence. You know what I mean?
Okay. It's good to know.
I mean,
some people don't enjoy that.
But I'm not offended by that. Like, if you're talking to me, I'm like, okay, but I'm probably not going to talk to you unless we're in the middle of a conversation and we both, like, really got to pee and we just, whatever. But if, like, you're peeing and then all of a sudden someone's like, what'd you have for breakfast today? And I'm like...
That's unhinged.
Just like, I'm peeing.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry. This was a little TMI, but...
I think...
No.
It needed to be said.
It did.
It needed to be said.
It needed to be said.
We have some very good POVs today, so...
So good. So good.
This has been fun. Anyways, that concludes our episode with Kimberly and Kevin Harp. So thank you guys for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having good combos. Yeah. Hopefully you keep listening. Hopefully this hasn't ruined the magic for either of you.
But will you listen to this episode?
I don't know.
Nope. We will not.
I won't watch it because I don't.
Yeah.
I always.
Probably.
Yeah.
Juicy.
All right.
So sorry.
All right.
That's okay.
That's
I remember accepting.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll
there's no
post the
point.
clips. You can watch the clips.
Probably
There you go.
Love it.
Anyways, thanks for coming. We appreciate you guys.
So good.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having us.
We'll see you guys next week.